And a female fencer stands up for fairness in women's sports. She did it by taking a knee and refusing to compete against a biological male at a tournament over the weekend. The referee's response, a black card, the sport's most severe penalty, which means expulsion from the tournament.
Now, in all fairness, I know a lot of people are coming down on this coach. Listen, the coach has nothing to do with the way and how this black card is given to this woman. He's only following the rules. But should these rules exist? Should a biological man who's competing in an all-women's sport during this fencing competition anyway, this is their sport, should that person be allowed to fence? And this is where this woman stands in solidarity, in knowing that she's going to not compete based on the fact that this is a male.
Bringing the athlete at the center of it all, Stephanie Turner. And Stephanie, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this was an Olympic qualifying event. My understanding of it is this was something that
This was not an Olympic qualifying event. This was somewhat like a beginning to get qualified for events in the future, not necessarily Olympic qualifying, and she definitely points that out.
You had prepared all your life for it. Wasn't an Olympic qualifying event? I'm sorry, I had heard that this morning.
No, it wasn't.
It was an important event, though. And this is something that you've been preparing for an awfully long time. You decided that you were going to take yourself out of the tournament. What was the thinking in leading up to the decision where you took a knee?
Right, so this was actually a regional tournament held by the USFA at the University of Maryland. So part of my pre-competition ritual is to check the online registration to see who is going to be there and just double check my check-in times. And on the registration list, I saw Redmond Sullivan's name listed there. And I recognized this individual from a previous Redux article that had been written stating that this person was a man who had previously competed on the men's team at Wagner and was now competing as a woman within the USFA. So from that point, I just got really disappointed.
I get it, man. You know, I get your love for the sport and its competitiveness, but here's where I kind of draw a line. You know, if you're biological a man, you provide an unfair advantage to females in the same sport. It's just the way that it is. Should they be able to compete in the same sport? Yeah, sure. Should they compete against one another for advancements in the sport? Unfair. So I agree with her. I get your love for the sport. Continue to do it. But don't go in with a competitive advantage, a biological advantage, expecting win and praise.
With the USFA and with this tournament, and I just felt like at a loss. I'd already committed so much money to it and training hours, and I was literally looking forward to this. I do this tournament every year. Yeah. I think this may be like my 10th year in a row doing this tournament. And I just got really sad and I started crying because this was like the last thing I wanted to deal with in my competition.
So at one point in the video, so we see you take a knee, and then the official comes over. What did you say to the official at that point?
So the official came over to me and asked if I was still refusing to fence, and I said yes. Oh, and you're talking about initially, yes, or when I got the black card?
No, initially.
Initially, I told them that I was refusing to fence because this person is a man and I am a woman, and this is a women's tournament, and I refuse to fence on principle.
And then later, right after this, we see your opponent comes over. What did you say to your opponent at that point?
My opponent was a little bit confused, thinking that I was maybe hurt, and I said, no, I am refusing to fence you because I'm a woman and you are a man. I have much love and respect for you, but I will not compete against you.
Wow.
And he responded, okay, well, there's a, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, what was his response?
His response was, okay, but there's a member of the board of directors here, and he supports me, and there's a policy that says that I'm a woman and I'm allowed to compete in the women's tournament, and if you do this, you're going to get black carded. And I said, I know.
So here's what USA Fencing said in a statement to Fox News Digital. USA Fencing enacted our current transgender and non-binary athlete policy in 2023. The policy was designed to expand access to the sport of fencing and create inclusive, safe space.
Whose administration was that? Whose administration was that?
It goes on to talk more, but this idea about inclusive, safe spaces, what about inclusive, safe spaces for female athletes?
Right. There's nothing for me and there's everything for him, because I have no choice as a woman, as a female, in where I compete. I am a woman and I have an athletic disadvantage to men, so I compete in the women's division, which is where I rightfully am. But he has been given this opportunity to fence in the women's division, and he can compete. He can easily compete in the men's division. He can also compete at mixed events in local tournaments if he wants. There is a place for him. So the idea that they're expanding the women's is just essentially making it an open tournament that can include men, and it ends up hurting me and other girls.
So you've got the support of Riley Gaines, who was on our network earlier today, and former tennis star Martina Navratilova, who put this out on X. She said, "This is what happens when female athletes protest. Anyone here still think this is fair? I am fuming, and shame on USA Fencing. Shame on you for doing this. How dare you throw women under the gender BS bus?" I mean, this doesn't come at the expense of male athletes. We don't see this in the flip side of the coin. This all comes at the expense of female athletes like yourself, like Riley Gaines, like the girls who lost that race by 7 seconds in Oregon, like the girls who lost the pole vault event in Maine. I mean, this is happening across the country.
Right.
And to a large degree, women support this.
Right, it's happening in every sport and at every level, and there's really no option to go around this when there are extremists who take up positions within the authoritative body of the USFA. So I have very little option other than being forced to fence. And I have gone down other pathways, like back in 2023 Summer Nationals, I just didn't sign up to fence in the Div 1A women's foil because there was another transgender person that I'd recognized in that tournament. So, I mean, I've avoided it as much as I can, but at what point do I have to just avoid all tournaments altogether because there's going to be somebody who's...
I know this one's going to be full of comments, some positive, some negative, some neutral. But I am very curious, and I would love to see some of the conversation just to open the eyes and have the conversation with other people so that we can know what's going on out here in the world in terms of transgender, the movement into predominantly a woman's division sport, not a women's sport, not a women's sport. It's a division sport. Right, wrong, or indifferent, comment, subscribe. Like the video. See you next time.